For over 40 years, one name has been the absolute benchmark for evil in the Star Wars galaxy: Darth Vader. His shadow has defined the story, and his fall and redemption arc is legendary. But what if I told you his reign as the galaxy's most compelling villain is officially over? Now, if you think Star Wars is just what you see in the movies, you might think that's an insane statement. And let's be honest, Vader is a titan of pop culture for a reason. But in the shadowy corners of Star Wars lore, a different narrative has taken hold. A hidden history that re-examines what makes a villain truly great. It's an analysis that asks a pivotal question. What if the story we should be looking at isn't one of redemption, but one of anti-redemption? This is the story of Darth Maul and how his tragic journey of unending vengeance makes him a far more complex and ultimately better villain than the man in the black mask. Let's be clear. Darth Vader is the official story of a Star Wars villain. He's an imposing, ruthless enforcer whose journey is the stuff of legend, but that is also his limitation. Vader's path is ultimately one of destiny, tied to a grand mythological prophecy. He's a key player, but he's still a pawn in Palpatine's grand design. His story is about returning to the light. Maul, on the other hand, represents a chilling alternative. His is a journey not of destiny, but of pure defiance. A character forged in pain, thrown away, and then rebuilt by nothing but his own sheer, unadulterated hatred. You see, there's a parallel to the classic redemption arc, but it's inverted. While Vader's story ends with him finding his way back, Maul's story is about a being who is given chance after chance to let go of his hate, and every single time, he tragically chooses not to. This fundamental difference is the key to all of this. To understand Maul, we have to go back to the beginning. He was a Dathomirian Zabrak, torn from his home and his brothers by Darth Sidious as a child. From that moment, his life was a brutal training regimen designed not to create a student, but to forge a weapon. He was conditioned, isolated, and filled with a burning hatred for the Jedi. Anakin Skywalker was surrounded by love, from his mother, from Padme, from Obi-Wan. Maul had none of that. His only influence was a master who saw him as a tool to be discarded. This wasn't a fall from grace. Maul never had any grace to fall from. He was molded from the very beginning into a living weapon of pure hate. When we first saw him in The Phantom Menace, he was an instant icon. The demonic look, the silence, the double-bladed lightsaber, it was unforgettable. His duel against Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is legendary. He takes on two Jedi and kills a master. But his apparent death wasn't the end. It was the true beginning of his story. Being cut in half and falling into a pit should have been his demise. That is the official story. But for Maul, it was his birth, because he survived through the sheer power of his own hatred and his obsession with revenge. This brings us to the single most important part of his journey. Years later, in the Clone Wars, we see the horrifying result. Discovered by his brother on a junk planet, he's a feral, spider-legged creature, driven completely insane by pain and solitude. After being restored by Mother Talzin, it is here that Maul's journey truly diverges. He is no longer a Sith apprentice. He's a free agent. Cast aside by his master, he is now driven entirely by his own personal vendetta. He transforms himself into a brilliant criminal mastermind, uniting the galaxy's worst crime syndicates into the Shadow Collective. And he does it all for one reason: to make Obi-Wan Kenobi suffer. His takeover of Mandalore is a masterpiece of cruelty. He doesn't just kill the woman Obi-Wan loves, Duchess Satine Kryze, he executes her right in front of him. Is it just evil? Or is it a calculated act of psychological torture that solidifies his new status as a villain whose evil is deeply, horrifically personal? His evolution didn't stop there. We even get a glimpse of him as a kingmaker in the criminal underworld, operating from the shadows during the rise of the Empire. During the Siege of Mandalore, his confrontation with Ahsoka Tano reveals a mind that is as sharp as any blade. He understands Palpatine's grand plan in a way the Jedi simply cannot. He's no longer a blunt instrument, he's a cunning strategist. These are tiny details, but when you look at them through this lens, they start to look less like a simple thirst for power and more like the calculated actions of a master manipulator. His final chapter in Star Wars Rebels is a masterpiece of tragic storytelling. He's now old, withered, and desperate, manipulating Ezra Bridger to find his lifelong nemesis on Tatooine. The final duel isn't an epic clash, it's quiet, swift, and profoundly sad. Obi-Wan is at peace. Maul is a hollowed-out relic of rage. In his dying moments, held by the man he hated for decades, his final question, will he avenge us, reveals the truth. His entire life was a wasted quest. It's the pathetic, lonely death of a man who could never let go, and it is a far more thought-provoking conclusion than Vader's grand, heroic sacrifice. So, what do you think so far? Is this just a case of fans reading too much into a cool-looking character, or is there a genuine hidden narrative at play here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Ultimately, we are left with two possibilities. Vader's story is one of redemption, defined by his connection to the Skywalker legacy, a tragic figure manipulated into destroying everything he sought to protect. Maul's story, however, is his own. It's a messy, unpredictable, and self-made tragedy. He is an independent mastermind whose arc is about his complete inability to escape the darkness he was born into. A villain so brilliant that we can't help but pity the broken creature he became, even as he commits horrific acts. For decades, Darth Vader was the undisputed face of evil, but his reign is over. Maul's journey, from disposable assassin to a resurrected madman, a criminal kingpin, and finally a tragic figure consumed by his own hatred, is one of the most compelling character arcs in all of fiction. Vader's story shows us that even the darkest soul can be redeemed. Maul's story serves as a far more chilling cautionary tale that some wounds never heal, and that hate, once it takes root, can lead to nothing but a lonely, desolate end. And that is why he is the superior villain.